Ragweed, a plant growing quietly along fields, roadsides, and disturbed ground, a slender stem, deeply divided green leaves, small, almost unnoticed flowers, and a history that reaches far back into the traditional knowledge of North America. This is common ragweed, Ambrosia artemisiifolia, a plant that has been known and observed by people for generations, long before modern botanical science. Ragweed already had a place in traditional plant knowledge. For indigenous peoples of North America, plants were not simply classified as weeds or wildflowers. They were resources, they were food, they were medicine, they were materials, and they were part of a much larger relationship between people and the land. Ragweed was one of the plants that attracted this kind of attention. Different communities discovered different ways of working with it, and some of these traditions were carefully passed from one generation to another. Historical ethnobotanical records describe traditional uses of ragweed among several Native American peoples, including the Cherokee, Lakota, Iroquois, Dakota, Delaware, Odo, and Homa. The preparations were not all the same. Some traditions involved the leaves, others involved the roots, and the way a plant was prepared was often just as important as the plant itself. This is one of the great secrets of traditional herbalism. Knowledge was not simply about knowing a plant, it was about knowing how to use it. Among the Odo people, historical records describe a traditional use of ragweed involving nausea. The leaves were bruised and used externally on the abdomen after a traditional scarification procedure. Among the Homa people of Louisiana, the roots were recorded as being boiled to make a tea traditionally used for menstrual pain. These are historical ethnobotanical traditions, but they reveal something fascinating. People had observed this ordinary plant closely. They noticed its different parts. They noticed where it grew. They noticed how it changed through the seasons. And they learned that even an apparently insignificant plant could have a purpose. This way of looking at nature was very different from simply asking whether a plant was beautiful. That a plant did not need spectacular flowers to be valuable. Sometimes its usefulness was hidden in the leaves, sometimes in the roots, and sometimes in knowledge that could only be learned through generations of observation. Ragweed itself is a remarkable survivor. It belongs to the sunflower family. Asteraceae, its leaves are deeply divided, giving them an almost fern-like appearance. The plant can branch extensively as it grows, and its size can vary dramatically depending on its surroundings. In poor soil, it may remain relatively small in favorable conditions. It can become surprisingly tall. It is a plant that adjusts itself to the world around it. And then there are the seeds. Ragweed produces small fruits that can remain in the soil, waiting for suitable conditions. This gives the plant an extraordinary ability to return. The ground can be disturbed, vegetation can disappear, fields can be cleared, and later, when the conditions become favorable, ragweed can emerge again. It is almost as though the plant carries a memory underground, waiting, watching, and ready to begin another generation. This ability made ragweed a classic pioneer plant. Pioneer plants are among the first to appear when the ground has been disturbed. They take advantage of open soil and changing landscapes. They do not need a perfect garden. They simply need an opportunity, and ragweed is very good at finding those opportunities. There is something almost poetic about that. Where other plants might struggle, ragweed simply adapts. It grows where the land has been changed. But ragweed is more than a survivor. It is also part of the natural food web. Its seeds can provide food for birds and small mammals. Its leaves and stems become part of the cycle of organic matter returning to the soil, and the plant itself becomes another piece of the landscape. This is an important lesson from traditional ways of observing nature. A plant does not have to be rare to be important. It does not have to be beautiful to have a purpose. Sometimes abundance itself is part of nature's design. There is also a fascinating chemical world hidden inside ragweed. Modern researchers have identified numerous natural compounds in the plant. Among them are compounds known as sesquiterpene lactones. These substances have attracted scientific interest because of their biological activity. Researchers have investigated different ragweed compounds in laboratory studies, including their effects on certain organisms. The important point is not that ragweed is a miracle medicine. It is that even a simple wild plant can contain an incredibly complex chemistry. And this is where traditional knowledge becomes especially interesting. People living close to nature did not know the chemical names of these compounds. They did not have microscopes. They did not have laboratories. But they had something else: observation. They watched plants throughout the seasons. They learned where they grew. They learned which part was used. They learned how plants behaved. And this knowledge became part of the cultural memory of entire communities. Ragweed is a reminder that the secrets of nature are not always hidden in exotic plants from distant mountains. Sometimes they are growing beside an old field. Sometimes they are standing unnoticed along a forgotten path. And sometimes the plants we call weeds are actually pieces of history. Ragweed is one of those plants that a survivor, the traditional plant, a fascinating piece of North American botanical history, and a quiet reminder that even the most ordinary plants can have extraordinary stories.